I can
Done.
maybe try and hit, well, it says recording. Okay.
Yep. I just hit recording, so we'll get going. So welcome everybody to week 3, right? Week 3? I believe so. Yeah. So, right. I don't have tons and tons to say because I really want to get to what everyone else thought about this chapter. But I will begin by saying, obviously, you know, there were things that stuck out to me, but I'm just gonna jump right to the very end, the ACT part, and talk just a little bit about some things that stuck out to me, and pray that just kind of gets the conversation rolling for us tonight. And then hopefully everyone will have a chance to speak up and share with us, because that's why we're all here, right? To learn from each other and learn how to be a better version of us. So, yeah, the very first thing though that I guess I should say, I'm going to start with this. The thing that stuck out to me the most, and that like my A and my C and my T all kind of revolve around, are adding value to people. So one thing that really stuck out to me in this chapter was that we're in the people business. He said that on one of the pages. We're in the people business. And it's so easy for us, for me especially, maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but it's so easy for me to get caught up in my IPAs and, you know, oh my gosh, I get so upset if someone stops taking the products, or, you know, and I just get so involved and wrapped up in the products, which, yes, of course we're here for the products too, but it's so easy for me to forget that this isn't really about the products. It's about the people, and it's about pouring into people. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm kind of experiencing a little bit of a slump right now, or like a plateau in my business, because I think I've gotten away from adding value to other people and pouring into other people. So as you know, this chapter kind of started with adding value to people, but then as I read each section, I just kept going back in my head and thinking about how I could apply that to adding value to people. But what's funny is at the very beginning of this chapter, I was like, I don't even think I know how to add like, what does that mean? Add value to people. And so before we get going on all of the things, I would just like to hear from you guys. When I was thinking about adding value to people, really the only things that I could think of were like encouraging words, lifting people up with my words, finding someone every day that I could talk to and, you know, just ask them how they were doing, and then lifting them up and encouraging them. But I'm just curious, do you guys have other ideas for adding value to people than, you know, other than just like encouraging them? There's got to be something else, but I was like, that's how bad I am at it. I don't know what to do to add value to people. So I'd love for you guys to chime in just a little bit about that before we keep going.
I don't think that I would say that you feel like you're bad at it. Like, I think that the fact that you're even thinking about it, like, how many people sit there every day and think of like, how can I add value to other people? Not very many.
Well, I haven't been until I read this chapter.
But I think that, like, for me, I mean, I feel like one of the ways I can do it, I do it, and I don't even need to do it, is through words. Like, I'll have people who probably will maybe never join me on this journey, and like randomly messaging people or randomly message me out of the blue and say, thank you so much for your positive posts. Like, I see them, I watch them, thank you. And so it's nothing to do with Plexus. It's just a matter of them reaching out. And I think that makes me want to show up every day and be consistent on positivity, even if I'm not feeling it that day. It's kind of like I use Facebook or social media like my own positive diary. Even if I'm not feeling it, it's the way that I want to be. And so I'll put a positive thing out there. So I think that I feel like that's a way I can add value, in addition, outside of like helping change lives, I guess, with the products. But I mean, the words are the thing that I have. So Sarah, I'm like totally with you on that. Like, outside of that, I mean, I make myself a rule of like, not a rule, but like sending one greeting card, like a piece of mail to someone every week, like a different person, like, because no one gets mail in them anymore. And so like getting a card in the mail, like for no reason, is kind of cool. And so I started doing that. So, I mean, even through little things like that, I feel like has helped me feel like I'm adding something. I don't know.
I love that.
I love
that's
that
a good
idea
one.
too. I'll add too, like do you guys listen to oh shoot. Oh my gosh, she has a podcast, Our Youngest Diamond.
Abby Kappa.
Abby Kappa. So she starts out her podcast by saying, do you just hear that if you're just yourself, you're authentic, and you add value to people, that you'll make it to the top? And so as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what she's talking about, because she's like, what does that actually mean, really?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is like, I'm also one of those people who I'm a words of affirmation person myself, but that doesn't mean telling me that I'm wonderful and great. It means acknowledging something, like just as simple as saying thank you for doing something for me is enough of a words of affirmation for me. But when I started reading the book, his idea or his examples of the people who have made an impact in our own lives, like a teacher or a friend who's helped us get over a hump, like those people have added value to our life. And so we just need to flip it around and look in the lens of that to see it's not as hard as we think it is. It's just being a good friend and being attentive and present and not thinking about selling a product or something, but truly listening to them and letting them be heard is the big part that was like flying in my face. Is like, how do you actually add value? Because I'm not a good cheerleader. I'm like, get over your dang self. Like, I don't want to be a go.
Same. I'm same, you know, I get it. And I like that you, that totally helps and makes sense. I mean, I feel like I already am a pretty good friend to, at least, you know, to the people that I'm around, you know, weekly or monthly or whatever. And I'm not a good cheerleader.
No, I'm like, empathy, whatever. Suck it up.
I think maybe we need to work on that, Kim.
Yes, I think so.
I so agree, Kim, what you just brought up. It was on page 35. That was one of the biggest aha moments for me of this whole chapter.
Yeah.
Where it was that little quiz, and it was like, name 3 wealthiest people in the world, 3 of the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners. And I'm a diehard football fan, and I couldn't even think of it. And then, like, flip it over, you know, list 3 teachers and 3 friends to help with your difficult time. It's like, I don't know. For me, I'm a very red personality. So you put a prize out there, and like, so, you know, Plexus does a great job of going towards, appealing towards the red personalities with all the incentives and things that they do each month. And I feel like sometimes that can be blinding to the fact that it doesn't really matter if you win the stinking prize. Like that's, I mean, I could be a freaking pencil and I just want to win the prize. Like, cause that's just how I am. Like, that's just my personality. But that little quiz really was like an aha moment for me. Like, no, like that. And I know that's not what the focus is, but I think I need a reminder sometimes, like, especially because I'll get down on myself if I don't hit those incentives. And I need to be like, but look how many people you did help, even if it was 1 or 2 this month, you know, because you never know how that's going to compound itself down the road, and not even benefiting you, just saying even for their own health purposes, like what a ripple effect you could have just caused, even though you didn't win the prize, but you helped 1 person this month. So that little quiz was a big thing. And then Sarah, just to your adding value, I'm kind of the same as Nicole, and I try and do that a lot in posts that are not Plexus related. Like I just did one last week. It was National Mental Health Awareness Day. So I just kind of did like a little post on that, and that's kind of my vision of adding value. And then something I did, I think it was back in May, and I got this idea through conversation with my Plexus business coach. I did a whole month's worth of Facebook group of workouts for people, because he's like, you know, not so much what's your brand, but like, what do you have that you could give to people like freely, you know? So I did this whole like month-long workout thing where like I gave them my workout. Here's the write up of it. Here's a video. You have to do the different moves, and like anybody can be on this. It's free. Here it is. Enjoy. It's going to be up forever. And I think we had over like 100 people on that page. And I just feel like people seeing me put an effort into that, because I feel like a lot of times they see us as network marketers like, well, we're only trying to make money off them.
Yeah.
No, like we truly like, yes, the financial part of it's great too. And I'm not going to say it isn't, but you can't be in this if you don't like helping people. Like, you have to like helping people to be in this business. So I think doing little things like that, you know, it doesn't have to be a month-long group of something, but just something that gives people something for free or adds value to them at no cost, that you can, you know, fill your cup while you're filling theirs. And I just feel like that pays dividends down the road, not just in your business, but just in your relationship life.
That's awesome. I love that. That's something I can do. Like, that speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Anyone else?
Do y'all think also that adding value, I know they talk about, you know, even our post, just sharing health knowledge, that in itself, because people just don't have the time to do research. So, you know, finding that way to share it as a solution, you know, and, I mean, don't you agree? Some people, their focus isn't on gut health. So here we are kind of reminding them gently every once in a while that they need this in their life. So I see that our informational post even is adding value myself.
I agree, Vonda. I always think of that, like, filling in for my sister dog sitting. I get to see lots of the inside of people's refrigerators and cupboards, and I'm like, I'm like, oh, but remember, Kim, you didn't used to know this either, and your cupboards were full of all of this junk. Don't judge. They just don't know. And I was thinking of this the other day. I didn't get to be this crazy Plexus lady overnight. I wasn't always a label reader. I didn't always like have a clue. And it's taken 6+ years to get this crazy. So we do get to share with others and add value that way.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Well, moving on. Thank you for that. I feel like I wrote a whole bunch of stuff down too to go along with my other notes. So that was good. And I definitely needed that for sure. Moving on to really the apply and the change and the teach stuff. It like I said, it all revolves around adding value to my people, to all of my people on my team, especially though. I'm not so good about that. So, but let's back up to the connecting stream. Since we're actually talking about connecting with people here. I love that. Hold on, I got to find the page. I should have done this while you were talking. But where's the page where he's talking about his strengths? I circled it.
I think it's 42.
Yeah, it is. He talked about his 6 connecting strengths. And that was just interesting for me. We all have connecting strengths, but have you ever thought about them before? Have you ever thought about how you connect with people? Just like I don't know, other moms that you, or other people you work out with or whatever. I never really sat and thought about, like, I've thought about my personality before, of course, and I've done some Enneagram work and stuff, but I've never really thought about how I actually connect with people. And then I started thinking about how I connect with new people and how I connect with old people and people that are, you know, not so, people of different ages and stuff. And it doesn't matter if they're new people, at least for me, it doesn't. If they're new people, if they're old people, if they're actually like old, like elderly people or whatever, I use the same thing every time. I always go to humor and like being real, being honest. Like I'm not someone that's gonna, like, if I have an opinion, I'm probably gonna say it. I'm not gonna say something that hurts somebody's feelings, but it doesn't matter like someone's gender or whatever. I always use the same strengths to connect with people, which got me thinking, how can I use that to add value to people? So the other thing was I feel like I only wrote 3 things down, really. I'm Nicole, when we have that lunch, this is another thing I want to talk to you about, like connecting strengths. But I don't know, what do you guys think about your particular strengths and how you use them to add value to people and how you use them to build your business and, you know, just in general?
I feel like I like to ask a lot of questions right up front, just to let them know that I'm interested, and also just to learn about like them a little bit, what makes them tick, like what are their interests, what are their hobbies. So it's obviously, you know, if you meet someone, I mean, I'm a huge extrovert, so I love, like, I work from home, and sometimes the only person I talk to is my dog. So like, I'll go to like a car wash and I'll sit down waiting for them to wash. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm around all these people, where I know a lot of people aren't like that, but the connecting is just starting the conversation and kind of making an impact, or telling a story that will help them remember, and then a follow-up. Like I feel like that's huge, just to, when you do find out what interests people, then you can, you know, if you see like an article, or if you see like, you know, somebody likes to travel or whatever, I mean, just having that purposeful, intentional conversation starters has really helped me with connecting, kind of like what you said, Sarah. It doesn't matter what age, anything like that. It's just showing interest and listening, because there's a lot of people you can tell when you're talking to them and kind of looking away, they don't care. But if you're genuinely showing interest and asking questions, I think it kind of goes a long way.
I think my big thing on this was the paragraph right above that was, I wrote it down and I'm like, be you. I think no matter what, I think this is a really powerful thing, that we don't have to be anybody else. We each have our own special gifts. And now I want to be more aware of what those are. I've always had the ability to connect with lots of different kinds of people. And like, if I was living in Colorado and I moved to Seattle for a while, and there was a going away party, and everybody from all walks of life were there, and somebody was like, Kim, look at this collection of people that you have around you. And I was like, oh my gosh, they were just like all so very different. And I remember thinking, that's kind of cool. And I had a girlfriend say it to me a few weeks ago. We were up in the mountains, and I just started talking to some people in this bar that we were at, and she's like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't think of I'm like, don't embarrass me. Don't like force me to go up there. Just let me be me and do this in my own way. And now I'm realizing that there's something in there that I need to focus on and pay attention to and practice. Like he says, practice it and be more intentional.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I wrote down was, somewhere in there he said daily. Like, this is a daily thing. I have a tendency to string together like maybe 2 good days or 2 or 3 good days, and then I'll make excuses on the 4th and the 5th day about how busy I am with my kids, and so that's where this all comes back to. this is a relationship business. We're in the relationship business now. It doesn't take that much time to find someone that you can connect with, really. And it's just such a simple thing that needs to be done. And like you said, Kim, you do it like you would do it, because people are going to see through you, you know, like me and you. Like, if I'm just trying to be someone's cheerleader all the time, that's not really me. Not that I can't cheer somebody on, but I think, you know, you have to do it in your own way, or people are going to see through it. And then, you know, then your connection is broken. So
yeah. It goes back to that whole thing that I was talking about last time too, of like your spoon and your fork job. Like, if we're doing it out, if we're lifting and connecting other people, that's something that's not in our sweet spot, it's going to drain us too. Like, and so we have to also make sure that we're filling others, and we can only fill from if we have a full cup. And so we have to make sure that we're not doing something that's disingenuous to ourselves,
right.
And drain ourselves out.
Right.
I had someone tell me before, and I struggle with this, when they said, like, there's no good deed that's not selfish. And I was like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, you do something nice for someone because it's going to make you feel good, and that's selfish. Or that's like a form. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Like, that's not. But then, like,
you don't first think, oh, I'm going to feel better.
Right. Well, you're only doing it because it makes you feel good. It's not, and so it's still like, you're doing it because it's self-fulfilling, not because it's helping. So I can't remember even like what I even thought when I first heard that. I was like, that is so not, I don't think that way at all. I think that a lot of the people that we meet here, like all of you guys, like, you find like-minded people who like pouring into others because, yeah, it makes you feel good, but you want to help them as much as possible. So I've always struggled with that. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard that before.
It makes me angry to think those words.
Yeah.
And I guess those people are not good network marketing. They're looking at from the wrong lens of all there for the money.
Right.
Like you were saying, Katie, not interested in helping people just for helping people.
Right. And Sarah, just to go off of the one thing you mentioned, I underlined that same thing also, that don't settle for a good day followed by a string of mediocre days. Make each day a masterpiece, and consistency compounds. And it's so funny, I was thinking while I was reading this chapter specifically, even in my own business, but then as a leader, like, I'll have people come to me and they'll be like, I'm feeling like I'm in a slump, or like, I'm just not, I don't have anyone in my warm market still to reach out to, or like not feeling my IPAs or thing like that. And my number one thing that I do myself and I tell my team is, like, when you're in that space and you're just like not feeling it, I turn to relationship building. I mean, it hands down, just put Plexus to the side for a second and just like love on people. And by doing that, every time for me, it has turned into creating new momentum and new business. And I don't do that relationship building strictly for the purpose of turning into new business, but I know I should be doing things daily, and to hold myself accountable and show up for myself in my business every day, even on those days when I might not feel like it. I'll sometimes just do relationship building that day. And, I feel like this whole chapter is about that, and connecting and relationships. And it's like, that's a great way to not allow one mediocre day to turn into another and another and another, is when because we all get there, that roller coaster ride of network marketing. When you're in that lull, that's my number one suggestion, is just start loving on people, because then that's going to make you feel better. Because when you're in that place, you don't feel good about yourself. So you need to love on others, because that's going to fill your cup up. And then in turn, it's just going to spark something.
Sure.
In your life, in your business, in everything. So
that goes back to that practice walking slowly through the crowd.
Yes.
I loved that. I mean, I was like, that was just so good. You know, and I know it's just like a metaphor, practice walking, but you know, you can apply that to so many areas. I can apply it to my home life, like just me and my kids, you know, but you can apply it to social media. You can apply it to the like picking my kid up from school. I mean, like everywhere, there's just so many places to practice walking slowly through the crowd. And I mean, I don't know, that was just really good for me to hear. Sometimes it's just good to hear things a different way, you know? And that was, I loved that section on practice walking slowly through the crowd. And that was on that's the same page where he said, the quote from the business author, Jeffrey, I don't even know why I tried to say his name. Anyway, but it was the one where it says relationship is more powerful than price. Relationship is more powerful than delivery and quality and service. And it's just, it's almost like, duh, you know, but still I had to read this whole chapter to be like, I'm doing it so wrong, you know? So anyway, I loved that. I love that section on practice walking slowly through the crowd. And the next section with asking questions and listening well. That's hard, but I feel like that's something that I've gotten a lot better with, just even kind of just as an adult, because I hate when I'm talking to someone and I can tell that they're just ready to pounce. Like you know, they asked me a question and I'm answering their question and it's about my kid. And like, they can't wait for me to get done talking so they can tell me about their kid. And I'm like, what am I even doing here in this conversation? And so over the years, I have become, you know, more aware of that. But I just think that's so important for, I mean, it got me wondering, I wonder how many people who aren't actively working on that, or if that's not something they think about, I wonder how many people even notice, you know, that they're doing that they're just like pouncing on top of, you know, whatever it was you just said. And so I thought that section was a good remander too.
I have to whisper this because my mom's in the other room. But I find her doing it. Like,
oh, my mom does it.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like stop, like quit talking, ask the question, let them finish, and be present. Don't try to think of the next thing or talk over somebody. Like, be respectful of a conversation that's taking place and let them finish and have their say before you add anything.
Yeah. It says listening builds trust. Amen. You know?
Indeed. I keep looking to see. I haven't seen my sister jump on yet. She said she was going to be late, but I always tell her how good she is at connecting with people, like genuinely connecting. And she has these relationships with people that the hardest people to talk to, that nobody can get a word out of otherwise, and people don't want to ride in the car with them because it's like awkward silence the whole way. And she'll just like the whole way. I'm just like, I'm in awe of her constantly, and I'm always telling her that she is like the master of true, genuine, connected relationships. And it's not out of anything else, but just like connecting and being there and paying attention and following up with them and asking them genuine questions about what's going on in their life. I have much to learn from her. This will be her shout out on the recording. In public.
Sister point. Sister point.
I feel like as I go through this and look at every page there, you know, I underlined like 19 things on every page. There's so many things to talk about, but do we want to jump to does anyone want to touch on, I don't really have a lot to add, but does anyone want to touch on the 7 different motivations of people and just how that is, you know, something you learned from any of that section? And if no one wants to do that, well, let me just give a couple of minutes. Does anyone want to talk about that?
I just right underneath that, because this happens to me all the time. So we're talking about like meeting new people, connecting, and I'm one, honestly, this is another thing that Plexus has helped me with, is starting conversations with random strangers, because otherwise I was like the person on the plane, hood, eye mask, don't talk to me. Like, I don't want to talk to you. And it's not that I didn't, it's just, like, I'm an extroverted introvert. Like, it's hard for me to, if I'm comfortable with somebody, I mean, watch out. Like, I'm balls to the wall. But in a crowded room, like, it's a little nerve-wracking for me to talk to people. So anyway, point being, now that I am more talkative and try to strike up conversations and more comfortable making new relationships, that question always comes up. Oh, what do you do? Because like I've asked them 1,000 questions and interviewed them. And then in my head, I'm thinking like, I need, and they said at the beginning of when I started with Plexus, you need your elevator speech, like how you can describe what you do. And I like right under the 7 motivations of people, number 1, purpose. People want to do what they were created to do. And it's like, find your one sentence. Abraham Lincoln, he preserved the freed the slave. Like I still don't have my one sentence. I like underlined, highlighted, starred that, and I'm like, figure out your freaking one sentence already. Like 3.5 years later, how do you not have your one sentence? And I don't, because it's like, it's hard to wrap up all we do in one sentence. And I want to kind of make it intriguing without giving it away, but yet keeping people's interest. So not that has added any value to this conversation, but that's something I need to do, is come up with my one sentence. It's hard. It's hard.
I agree. It is hard. I can come up with some things for my one sentence, but they're probably not super appropriate. Or nor do they have anything to do with network marketing.
I need an example, Sarah.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Nah.
To back up 1 second here, Katie. Can y'all hear me? Yes?
Yeah.
Katie. Okay, there is something called an ambivert, okay, which is part introvert and part extrovert. And I was a very big introvert until Plexus, and now I comfortably identify with that ambivert. I do get value and recharge when I'm home alone, working or not, or doing whatever. But if I'm out in the crowd or at the grocery store or whatever, I can now speak to people and talk to people, and I'm comfortable in that environment too. I mean, it's kind of a balancing act. So there's a word for you. It's an ambivert.
Ambivert. Thank you.
Ambiverts unite. I'm one too.
An ambivert. Yes. I was so excited. I've got a name.
I
don't have my one sentence just yet. I'm working on it. Yeah,
I've got your sentence. I've got your sentence, Katie. She was an ambivert who could shake her booty.
There you go.
I've seen you shake your booty.
See, but that's where the lights are dark. I don't think anyone's, and then I put it in my story. That's, right. Thank you.
I watch it.
Thank you. That's my happy place.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in about the 7, what was it, motivations? 7 motivations?
Like so many of it, I think without focusing on any one of them, it's what makes people tick.
Yeah.
And we have answers for all of it. And I loved the example that he used about Pam. I think that was her name, who she was going to speak to a whole crowd and then ended up only talking to one person, and was like, do you trust me? And yeah, we can do this. It's like people all have these inner needs. They just don't know how to put a finger on it. Like, we're all reading these books and being like, oh my gosh, yes. But just like they don't know about nutrition and gut health, they also haven't spent as much time as we do trying to analyze ourselves. But we can speak to those things for people and really add value. I mean, this is what people want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like I need to write those 7 things down. Somewhere in there, he talked about writing something down. Am I cutting out? I moved.
A little bit, but it's okay.
It's okay. All right. I feel like I need to write.
But you're good.
Sorry. I need to write those 7 things down and like keep them on a note thing in my back pocket for when I'm connecting with someone who is actually like interested in the business, or even just like in general. So you can try and, it's just a good reminder to know that different things make different people tick. And it was nice that he kind of like, he broke them down for us, So
I was going to say one of the things that I feel like when I'm talking to people, and I'll focus this one on Texas, but for motivating people to kind of see the light of the bigger picture, is that this is a need and not a want. Like, people want makeup, people want leggings, people want great shampoo, but people need to have balanced blood sugar, and people need to have lower cholesterol, and people need to have their gut healthy. And I think that sometimes kick starts the motivation in conversations with people. And they also things that you can bring up, especially I know a lot of people struggle with talking about the opportunity or talking about the business, but people need to go to sleep at night knowing how they're going to pay their bills, and people need a community of cheerleaders rather than negative people, or just to feel like they're by themselves. So I think when you focus the need versus the want, that is going to help motivate not only you for sharing and making that you're not bothering people, but you're blessing them. And brings the conversation into a whole different thing of like, rather than feeling like you're sharing something that changes their life. So that always helps me with motivating people that might not know what it is that we have or what we do.
That's good, Nicole. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's really good.
Did you guys score yourself on page 48 for the evaluating yourself on how well you're connecting with others?
No.
You didn't? Oh.
Well, that's because I got stuck on this page, which is 44, when it's your dream versus when it's someone dreams for you.
Oh yeah, that was so good.
Oh my gosh. When it's somebody else's dream for you, it's a weight on your shoulder. It will drain your energy. I'm like, oh my gosh. It just hits home why we can't want it for others more than they want it for themselves.
Right.
We have to.
That took me back to all the other jobs I've pretty much ever had in my life.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't rank myself.
Oh. For me, it was brutal.
How'd you do?
That was brutal. Nothing was higher than a 3. I only had 1 3. Yeah. I mean, but that was good. I'm glad he did that at the end of the chapter, because that's something that I can easily refer back to, to encourage me and to, just to give me more motivation to be better at connecting with people. So it's like a quarter till 9, and I want to be mindful of people's time. So let's just kind of wrap up by anyone that wants to chime in with the apply the change or the teach section. Yeah. I'll say real quickly, one of the things that I put for teach is that one of the most important things I need to teach others from this chapter is not so much actually like teaching something as it is publicly adding value to people, so that other people, by doing that, I'm teaching basically how to connect with others, just by doing it, you know, because what I think even in this chapter is where he said something about when you like it's attractive to people when you're being positive and when you're loving on people and when you're connecting with people genuinely. And so I think to do that publicly by posting on someone's page or even just when I'm with groups of people and I'm around them and I need to work on, I'm really good about like when I'm with a friend or whatever and complimenting them on their hair or, you know, the way that they did something. But I think I need to be better about I need to be more intentional with doing it around more people.
Yeah, his point there of like if you do it one-on-one, it adds value. If you do it in a public setting, it multiplies the value.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's teaching. So,
I think,
yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm. I think for me, the teaching part is that a reminder of how important the connection is and that we are in a relationship business. And like Katie said, like if we're just loving on people, that is huge. And it's that adding value, and people are following us because it's us, not because we're somebody else. And so again, comparison is the thief of all joy, reminding people again that they have a connection with their current people and the people that they're going to find that's going to be different than mine, and it's perfect just the way that it is, as long as they believe in themselves and pour into others with the gift that they have to give others, which is a gift of themselves.
I love that.
And this is something I just have to mention because it blew my mind when I read it. It's totally off to, but can you believe that he was in 7th grade reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People?
No, I think I was still picking my nose.
That was not on my list of 7th grade reading.
I stopped and reread that sentence 3 times.
And then he rereads it every year. I think that's the other thing too. It's like,
yeah, you know you're going to win in life
practicing
when you're in 7th grade reading that book. I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, that was nothing I'm going to apply. Maybe I should, yeah.
Someday when you have kids, be sure and give it to your 7th grader.
There we go.
Here, read this every day.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm super excited for the next chapter too on mindset.
Yeah.
Woo! I think that one's going to make me shake my boots a little.
It's going to make me shake in mine too. That's why I chose to lead it.
Good for you, Kim.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh.
All right, y'all. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before we say goodnight? I'll give you a second. Anyone else? No? All right. I'll wrap up by saying this, that he also said somewhere in there, you are now a part of a culture that encourages personal growth and your possibilities. And I had no idea that that's what I was getting into whenever I signed on to do this, right? Because I just wanted the discount at the time. But just over the last year and a half since I've been doing this, so much personal growth, right? And I've done so many things that I never thought I could do before. So if you guys, I'm sure most of you are probably in the same boat. So if you could just take some of that and remember that and think about how far you've come since you've started, and then take a little bit of that and start dropping it into other people and motivating them to, to want to grow and to see all the things that they could possibly do. I love that he said that. I just, didn't know that that's what I was getting into. So I love the culture of this company so much.
I do too. I agree with you.
I mean, I mean, look, we're all friends now and we all know each other now. And it's just, I don't know. It's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. I need to tell you, Sarah, you definitely meet people with humor. Like, and she calls you on the carpet. When I was like, I was a crying mess the first time I met you in my book study, you're like, you were a crier.
Told you I'm honest.
You know, and I'm like, I love that. We are bonded.
That's amazing. I think it was Jen Hawkins that said it the first time. I'm sure a million other people, but it's, you know, of course, the products bring people in to Plexus, but it's the culture that makes them stay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
So true.
Yeah. I love it.
And people crave that. People truly are just like desperate for connection and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely starving for it.
I know. I've been hearing lately, I don't know if this is like a new stat that's going around or something, and I'm not going to say it right because I don't remember exactly what it was, but something about nowadays, and I think it's partly caused by social media. The world is the loneliest place that it's ever been, ever. People are so lonely. People are, you know, I think it's because we're lacking, you know, face-to-face and human connection, and we're all just like hidden behind our phones and our computers and stuff. It's as lonely as it's ever been. And so this, you know, chapter on teaching us how to connect better with people has come at a good time. So
you're right. I think you're right on there.
Yeah.
So true.
All right, y'all. Well, I'll figure out how to stop this recording and sign off, and wish you all a happy rest of your week. And we'll look
Thanks
forward
so
to
much,
you meeting
Sarah.
next week, Kim. Yeah, no problem.
Thank
This
you.
was great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thanks, everyone.
See you all soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.